for me, that was a key point, because he does realize that this coffee deal needs to be studied again. And the fact that government is not ignoring views of people, especially the ones that are affected most. We're talking about the coffee farmers, because their views have actually come through to say that, you know what, we are not liking the clauses within this deal. And obviously government is now looking into the fact how can it be a win-win, so that as government, they also don't make losses or they tap into such opportunities, but at the same time, look out for the farmers that are out there. But one interesting thing that really came out of his speech was how he was calling upon people to stop being lazy and, you know, depend mostly on inheriting wealth from their parents, because that has made people lazy, and he was condemning that. And he did say that this is the first government where government has had to give free money to people to use the first time, and he takes pride in that, because there has been a lot of programs. Even right now we're talking about the parish development model, so that is money that has been circulating to help people. The first time, the first government to do that, so he takes pride in that, and I think as Ugandans we should be embracing some of these projects. And also I really want to concur with him. There is a certain kind of laziness that Ugandans have had to, you know, take on, because, you know, the generational wealth. You know that my parents are doing well. We have had this money in my family, so I don't really have to work so hard, because I know at the end of the day I am going to be the one to take up this entire empire. I'm going to, you know, take on the entire money. So yes, I do understand where he's coming from, although there are certain people who really work hard. And I mean, I think it just comes from the parents who instill this culture of working hard. The money has been in the family, so it is your responsibility as the next person in line to be able to maintain this money. So I don't know how many people are, or I don't know how many parents have been able to groom their children in that kind of way. But I mean, if you're the kind of parent who is probably relaxed because you know, well, he or she will pick up later on, it will be very sad. Well, like today, like I told you a couple of minutes ago, it is Eid, and of course I will be giving you a live feed from some of our top mosques around here in Kampala to show you what's happening, the prayers, the preparations, to see how our Muslim brothers and sisters are ready to celebrate this day, and probably tap in on the preachings that will be given by the sheikhs in these mosques. But of course also we'll be giving you quite a whole lot as Good Morning Uganda happens. And we'll be giving you some more updates from our traffic. We'll also be giving you more news coming from our climate, and well, also giving you some of the press reviews, what will be happening or what made the headlines in the papers. That is New Vision, the Daily Monitor, and of course the Daily Nation. Speaking of news, we did have a lot of stories making it to the newsroom last night, and of course we'll also give you such a peek into it and see what happened, of course, locally and outside Uganda, outside Africa, starting off with the stories that did make it back here home.
Well, on the local scene, we'll start off with tapping into the presidential speech yesterday while he was addressing celebrants at Kororo Ceremonial Grounds, that is in spirit of celebrating International Labour Day. Now, President Museveni has castigated barbaric practices of wealth inheritance, fueling laziness among able-bodied people. Now, Museveni challenges Ugandans to take advantage of the prevailing peace in the country to embrace agricultural production for both subsistence and commercial purposes. Addressing Labour Day celebrants at Kororo Ceremonial Grounds, Museveni encouraged Ugandans to adjust living standards to the prevailing economic conditions. The head of state arrived as early as 11 a.m. at Kororo Ceremonial Grounds. He was here to lead Uganda into commemorating World Labour Day. Boots on the ground, the parade was mounted by officers from the UPDF, Uganda Police Force, and Uganda Prison Service. In both slow and quick march past, they made the ceremony colorful. But behind this march past was a serious message of embracing production for only a subsistence, but for not only subsistence, but also commercial. Museveni's gospel on prosperity was in total disagreement with the idea of inheriting wealth, describing it as a catalyst for laziness. The challenges of rising commodity prices did not skip his advice Ugandans to adjust on their lifestyles as long-term solutions are sought. Museveni, who assured Ugandans of peace and underscored the need to promote extensive irrigation to reduce dependence on rain-fed agriculture. Earlier, the Chairman General National Organization of Trade Union, Asha Wilson, raised a number of workers-related concerns to which the President responded. Now, the event was crowned with different medal categories awarded to different people for their distinguished service to the nation. And in another story, Karamoja guns are burnt. Now, 378 guns have been burnt in Kotido district under silencing the gun campaign, which is aimed at eliminating illegal guns from people. The Deputy Inspector of Police, Kasigazi Tumsime, led the exercise and appealed to Karamojongs to embrace government programs to eradicate poverty. The function was attended by officers from UPDF, police, in the Karamoja leaders and the locals. At least 378 guns have been burnt under a campaign called named Silencing the Gun by the year 2030, which is aimed at eliminating illegal guns from the people. Kotido leaders asked government to protect people and their property to eradicate poverty. Now, the Deputy Inspector of Police, Tumusime Kasigazi, urged Karamojongs to embrace government programs like PMU. Kasigazi assured Karamojongs as government is ready to protect the borders. Area RDC Honoria Ambrose explained the challenges they face in the current disarmament. Away from that Labor Day rural perspective, now it's 140 years since the establishment of Labor Day and 128 years declared public holiday worldwide. In Uganda, communities living in the rural areas do not understand the day, its meaning, its commemoration, and others think it's for government workers. However, those who understand the day and its worthiness to be commemorated reveal that as long as you have a job, even if it's agriculture, you must celebrate this day. As Uganda joins the rest of the world to commemorate the International Labor Day on 1st May every year, communities in rural areas doing subsistence farming do not know the day and its meaning, its commemoration day, and others just think it's for government workers. To date, it's over 140 years since Labor Day was established and 128 years declared public holiday worldwide. Moving on, Veterinary Day for 2022. Now, veterinary doctors convened in Tungamo District, southwestern Uganda, to celebrate the 22nd World Veterinary Day created by the World Veterinary Association. This annual event brings together the global veterinary community to celebrate each other and is key in raising public awareness about the significant contribution of veterinarians to the health of both animals and humans, underlying a fundamental role of veterinary in safeguarding animal wealth, food security, and also food and animal products, as well as protecting the public health and environment. The president of Uganda Veterinary Association, Dr. Daniel Kasibure, said it's prudent that government addresses the constraints and challenges faced by veterinary professionals that hinder their full capacity to deliver services. The Commissioner of Animal Health at the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Dr. Anna Rose Demon, commended the role that is played by veterinarians and said the government has already approved a better pay for scientists, including vets, starting next financial year.
Well, away from that and onto the international scene, well, it brings joy for millions of Afghans facing hunger. Now, people across Afghanistan celebrated Eid on Sunday, but for millions of Afghans, it was yet another day of struggle to bring food to the table. More than 90% of Afghans have been facing a shortage of food, according to the United Nations. Jamal, who did not wish to share his real name, is among those for whom Eid, which marks the end of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, brought little joy. The 38-year-old has struggled to make ends meet as the country finds itself gripped by a severe humanitarian crisis triggered since the Taliban takeover late August. Now, a few pieces of bread from the nearby bakery is what Jamal could secure for his family of 17 members. Some of it will be saved for later to be had with whatever meal they are able to receive from charitable friends and neighbors. But I don't expect we will get much even for Eid. Who will give me money or food? The whole city is living under poverty. I never saw anything like it, even in the refugee camps where I grew up, he said, referring to his upbringing in refugee camps in neighboring Pakistan. A former junior-level government official, Jamal spent most of the month of Ramadan looking for work or support to find food for Sehri, the pre-dawn meal, and for iftar, the meal to break one's fast at dusk. And moving on, a joint West African force claims 20 rebels killed in Lake Chad. Troops participating in a West African joint military force claim to have killed an estimated 20 rebel fighters in the Lake Chad basin. Between April 27th and 29th, at least 20 terrorists were neutralized. Despite strong resistance, the multinational Joint Task Force, a coalition of the militaries of Cameroon, Chad, Nigeria and Niger, said on Sunday. A senior MJTF official told AFP news agency that neutralized meant killed, adding that the operation took place in Cameroon and in Nigeria. Lake Chad's basin, which is shared by the 4 countries, and the lake's many islets have become one of the main locations for fighters from Nigeria's Boko Haram and its dissident branch, the Islamic State in West Africa province. For years, the rebels have launched attacks from their island enclaves in Lake Chad, littering the area with improvised explosive devices, laying road ambushes, and more recently, firing mortar bombs towards military posts. The coalition launched a new offensive in March that aimed to completely destroy Boko Haram and other terrorist groups which plague the basin, the senior official said.
And the weather needs climate action needs more women. Now, the higher you go, the fewer women they are. This observation by Nobel Peace Prize laureate and environmental trailblazer Wangari Maathai reflects a reality familiar to all women who have aspired for leadership positions, and it has gained a new meaning for me as the climate crisis has intensified. Now, though it is already clear that women and girls will face higher risks and gender burdens because of climate change, they remain significantly underrepresented in the climate and environmental negotiations. In 2019, the United Nations Gender Composition Report noted that the number of women represented in the UN Framework Convention on Climate bodies was not in line with the efforts to create gender balance. In response, member states adopted a gender action plan at the UN Climate Change Conference COP25 in 2019. Now, the plan recognized that full, meaningful and equal participation and leadership of women in all aspects of the UNFCCC process and in national and local level climate policy and action is vital for achieving long-term climate goals.
Well, this is really, really interesting. I love the statement where they actually say the higher you go, the less women you find there in the top positions when it comes to, fighting against climate degradation and making sure that it works. And I think place. I am really, really happy, Mollen, to be very specific. We even saw that International Women's Day that was celebrated on 8th March of 2022. The theme was in line of women in context of climate change. What are they doing? How it affects you as a woman and the girls. I think, do you feel like we're doing enough? Do you think we're doing enough campaigning, especially for climate change and having women heavily involved in these campaigns?
I say there has been a little bit of improvement, but we are not doing good so far. Because what happens is that when you look at the effects of climate change, the people that are affected most are women, because they are the ones doing the labor work to make sure that, for example, we'll take an easy example of agriculture. It's the women who are doing this work. It's the girls who are doing this work. That means when there is an effect of climate change, they are worst hit. But again, if you look at the top positions where people are negotiating for climate action, the women are not in those processes. So how are they supposed to address their challenges? Yes, they are left out during these negotiations. I'll tell you one thing. We always have a delegation from Uganda that represents us on such negotiations, but you will just find that 10%
of those people are just women. And how far have we gone with involving women? I'll say we still have a lot of work to do there. Obviously, it's not good representation. And now that adds to the reports that are coming out, not just being a UN report, but worldwide. There's a general observation that women are always left out in these negotiations, yet they are affected most. So I think there is still a lot of work to do to make sure we involve women.
And I believe when it comes to, you know, asking or negotiating for action, if the women come in to talk about their own problems, they are more relatable. They talk from a point of experience because they know what's happening. And I'm not saying our counterparts don't understand this, but I feel like the women will have the bigger picture. They know what it entails. They know how they are affected. And they'll be able to present all these, and probably the people in charge can actually see their cause for, you know, all these negotiations. Well, we are yet to see, and I believe that it begins with you as a girl, as a woman, to be able to make your voice known as you're campaigning for all this climate change, because eventually, in one way or another, it affects you. And clearly, like I always say, make sure that you fight it now before it becomes a problem for you in the long run. Well, we're still going on with Good Morning Uganda, myself and of course Mollen, and we're still steering this wheel. Like I promised you earlier on, we'll be giving you a live feed to just give you a feel on what is happening, especially in all these mosques where we're having all the Eid prayers, and where we're joining, of course, our Muslim family, and just to see how they're going to be celebrating their day, what are the preaching is going to be about. We'll be giving you all that live here on UBC TV, but also we'll be getting into, you know, the weather updates like we did promise you, whether it's going to rain or not. And again, we'll be taking you to the roads, which routes will be ideal for you if you intend to really access town, if you have something major going on for you, which routes should be ideal for you to make use of. Well, that's it for now, but we're getting into the inspiration for this Monday to make sure that we help you relax and we help you settle in for this public holiday, as of course you get ready to be able to resume work tomorrow. We'll be back after this. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala.